Yeah, good evening, Paul. I'm very happy to speak to you and very happy to have you here in our recording session today. I've got 3 questions for you with regard to our book release event on Shame for Zero, which is focusing on dealing with often negatively experienced emotion during the fourth industrial revolution, like shame, for example. And I just wanted to ask you, because you've been working in this field for many, many years, how can people actually deal with these challenges during COVID-19 and during the fourth industrial revolution? And how can they best transform their negative emotions and deal with pain and suffering?
Okay, so let's start with the kind of emotion people often experience during this period. This is a tough time for everybody because of the lockdown, because of the high mortality rate, and the economical difficulties. So many people are suffering from loneliness, and from fear, from anxiety, from depression, and most importantly, they're suffering from a sense of shame. Let me explain to you why shame is so important in this period. Because shame of our incompetency, our inability to cope, it seems to be, we feel overwhelmed, we feel confused about the future, about our role. And also, this is another part is that people like to be in control, but all of a sudden we are in a situation where we feel that life is under control. We say, government mandate and a virus that keep on evolving, the third wave, fourth wave. We just feel that we no longer have control over things. And more importantly, everything is digitalized. It's a digital revolution, and the robots are taking over. And most communication take place virtually, like now. So all these things make people feel that they don't know who they are anymore. They feel that they are serving the machine rather than we're the master of technology. They feel that the technology, the change is so accelerated that it's beyond our ability to cope. So I'm doing therapy and counseling for many people suffering from depression, anxiety, and feeling of shame, feeling of confusion. So I think that the first step I usually help them with is to welcome this adversity as an opportunity for positive transformation. Mm-hmm. So I say, well, don't feel bad because the worst time may be our best time, depending how we respond, right? So that's a key. Yeah. It's happening to all people, but the key is how do we respond? So I said the best way to respond, from my experience, my research, is to accept the adversity and the traumatic experience as a wake-up call. A wake-up call telling us about our inadequacy, or need for change, or need to improve ourselves. So it's a time for us to reflect on our lives, to become aware of who we are, whether we are really our true best self, whether we are living a shallow life. So it's a good thing, it's time, it forces us to reflect our life. Mm-hmm. The second part is also important. Upon reflection, we realize that our need for change, then the second step is that how can we grow and become stronger and wiser? So if we are able to wake up and make the necessary change, then we feel much better ourselves. We actually become better, stronger than before.
Okay, thanks very much, Paul. And when you are thinking about the theory that you've developed, the positive psychology 2.0, the second wave of positive psychology, when you think about this, how and what kind of role could this theory that you've developed play in these difficult times?
Okay. Silverman launched his positive psychology movement back in 1998. That's more than 20 years ago. So since then, I mean, all knowledge evolves and all science progresses. Positive psychology is no difference, okay? So there are all kinds of changes happen, okay? Broadly speaking, all the changes are referred to as PP 2.0 to indicate that it's different from the original. Is an attempt to correct the inadequacy of the first wave. So my particular brand of PP 2.0 is called existential positive psychology. Okay, a little bit different from other approaches. The difference is that I think that positive psychology is inherently existential because they are dealing with the big questions, right? How to bring out what good, what is right in human nature, and what is virtue, what is happiness. All these are existential concerns, existential questions. So basically, positive psychology shortchanged itself by focusing on the positive side. But when I point out that positive psychology at the heart, the essence of positive psychology is actually concerned with human existence, how to have a positive, a fulfilling human existence, how to live a good life. So I haven't changed very much. I just bring out that what is at the heart of psychology that is not want to touch. Because when you touch the heart of psychology, that means that human nature has great potentials for good and evil. That we have what primitive yearnings for love, for connection, for happiness, but also have primitive emotion of guilt, shame, and fear. So you have to take the whole thing. So to know your true self, knowing the dark side as well as the bright side, to be your best self, is to be able to combine these two and emerge, transcend the polarity and become something beautiful, something transformed. So what is the best about human being is not just focus on positive, that's shallow, because that hasn't. What the best about human being is able to transform the worst part and to integrate with the bright best part and emerge into a complete complete whole. So therefore, to summarize, my PP 2.0 says that flourishing comes from suffering, comes from transforming suffering. So suffering is the very foundation of building a a happy life, a virtuous life, a good life. Without that foundation, so that shallow possible life will collapse under the weight of stress, under the weight of suffering, like what's happening now. Many successful, happy people all of a sudden find that they have a hollow self that totally collapse under the weight of being, the horrors of being. So I say, well, fear not, that there is good chance, you realize that you're inside the hollow. Therefore, I developed the deep and wide hypothesis. A good life not only increase the range of experience, the width, the breadth, to experience all flavors of life. A full life, all flavors. Okay? Saltiness, bitterness, sweet, sour. But a good life, all the depths. Wow. So that's the key contribution. What about depths? Depth relationship. We can last for years. The marriage can last for years. Research partnership can last for years. What about depth? Depth commitment, depth understanding, depth of willingness to suffer for the other person, depth of sacrifice, depth of acceptance, depth of endurance. Wow. What are depths? You have everything, because a building cannot grow tall without good foundation. A tree cannot grow tall without deep root. So when we put the focus on depths, okay, let me give an example, okay? Let me tell you why it's funny, okay? Because right now we communicate through email, okay, through virtually, rather than face to face. We know from communication theory that face to face communication, we can see each other, are the best way to communicate, right? Now the best way is through virtually or through email. So through information, some information is lost. For example, personal space, how we stand closer together, or a little touch, a shoulder. So all these things are lost. So virtual communication, email, something is lost. So therefore, the chances of being misunderstood much higher than person to person. For example, when I email to my assistant, often mistakes occur. I keep explaining the things I understand. So when you come to my office, one sentence is clear up. Wow, it's a difference. The face-to-face communication, one in the same room, can clarify many things. So therefore, in order to remedy, we have to learn the virtue of patience. We have to learn the virtue of forgiveness. Okay, maybe because I forgiveness. And the virtue of learning how to say what we mean what we say. Speak from the heart. Not trying to use people and trying to get people to do things for you. Speak from the heart. The sincerity is nothing more, it's better than honesty. Right now, my friend wrote a book on honesty. Sincerity, Chinese virtue emphasize sincerity, or Carl Roger talk about genuineness. We need to develop genuine relationship. I have some online friends, like you have one online friends. We develop genuine relationship. Genuine means that we trust each other, we're committed to each other, we're willing to help each other, we're willing to sacrifice for each other. So this depth, this virtue of genuineness, of sincerity, can make up for the lack of face-to-face, person-to-person communication. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say that, my solution to overcome this handicap through machine, human, that you want a robot, I want to build a robot that's faithful, that understands that I want a robot that's always faithful to me, that it cannot be against me. Okay, you imagine you create a robot smarter than you and turn against you. Boy, that'd be the end of humanity. The robot take over. So I'm building the quality of loyalty, faithfulness, compassion, genuineness. Okay.
Thanks very much, Paul. So one last question with regard to our audience. What can you recommend to the audience who might have experienced shame in their life already, and especially also connected to COVID-19, maybe to the infections, because we've seen that's quite a lot, that people feel ashamed when they are, for example, affected and infected with COVID. What can you recommend our audience how to deal with shame in these times on a very practical level?
Okay. Stop running. Stop running away from your shame. The more you run away, the more it kicks after you. Stop running, stop facing it, and breathe it. Number one. Number two, stop hiding. Stop hiding yourself. Stop suppressing yourself and facing your dark side. Stop facing and tell your shame, it's okay. It's okay to be failure. It's okay to be unloved. We're all the same boat, but some people hide better than other people. But you're not okay, I'm not okay, but that's okay. So stop hiding from yourself, facing your dark shadow, facing the self that you're ashamed of, you try to hide. It's far better to see the light. Tell your shameful self, say, come on, it's okay. Let's enjoy the sunshine. Spring's here, summer's here. Stop hiding. Start getting to know your dark side. Thirdly, stop chasing, dreaming about happiness. Start living for a deep, meaningful life. A life that is depth, a life that is full of suffering and full of joy, full of disappointment, and full of fulfillment. A full life, living life to the full. If you miss the happiness, the fun, you're shallow. You can't be happy. Sustainable happiness is a life with depth and meaning. Mm-hmm. And because when you're meaning for suffering, the suffering is bearable. Okay? Mm-hmm. Without meaning, even pleasurable things are annoying. Everything is boring. You have no meaning. All the happiness you can buy with money turn boring. We know the law of habituation, right? You're excited about something, then it's been boring. But you kind of with depth, kind of meaning. That's a different story, right? And so start building connection with yourself, with other people, with God, and start to use the right side of brain of imagine a better future and creativity. I can speak on for an hour, so that my time's up.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thanks very much for giving me this interview today. And I'm very happy that you can be with us during our book release event, although you will still be in bed probably. Thank you.